There's new data from the Yale Budget Lab that suggests these sweeping tariffs will hit Americans who already struggle the most, the hardest. And there's new evidence today that more Americans can't afford their medical care. It's from a new Gallup survey, and it finds the number of Americans who say they cannot afford medication or care in the last 3 months has reached its highest level in the 4 years since the survey started. This all comes at the same moment when Forbes says their billionaires list is bigger and richer than ever. Joining me now, Yale Budget Lab Executive Director Martha Gimbel. Martha, thanks for being with us. Take us through these numbers. How will these tariffs impact the lowest income Americans?
So the thing you have to keep in mind for lower income Americans is it's not just that they have less in income to weather a shock like this. It's also that they're spending more money on goods, right? They're buying food for their kids, they're buying clothing, they're paying for housing. And so if you look at the poorer Americans in this country, we'd expect them to see a hit of about $1,700. That's going to be really hard for them to weather. That's about 4% of their disposable income. To put that in context, that's about 2.5 times what we would expect it to be for the top decile.
Well, the Trump administration says these tariffs may lead to some short-term pain, but that it'll be worth it because there's going to be a long-term game. And often they specifically cite, frankly, unspecified tax cuts that Republicans want. Does one nullify the other or make up for the other?
So one thing that's really important to keep in mind with the taxes that are under consideration is they're just talking about extending tax levels that are current. So if you're thinking about this from a normal person perspective, even if they extend the tax 2017 bill, you'll just see your tax rates stay the same, but the burden of what you're paying at the grocery store going way up. So it's not like the tax cuts are going to be any kind of relief here.
Well, experts say that the economy was on an upward trend and building at the end of the Biden administration. But in the 10 weeks since President Trump's inauguration, that trend has reversed and sometimes in a head-spinning fashion. So even if the administration would adjust course, let's say the complaints continue and they decide to back down, could a recovery come as quickly as the dive did?
So, yes. However, one thing that is making a huge difference in the markets right now is that the markets are finally realizing that Donald Trump is serious, that he meant that he liked tariffs, that there is going to be an unpredictability to policy coming out of this administration. That is not what markets were expecting before January 20th. And so part of what you're seeing with the sellout is just people adjusting what they're expecting to see from this administration going forward. And I think it's really important to realize that political risk is also economic risk. And that is something that up to this point, markets had been unwilling to price in.
And let me ask you finally about the Forbes billionaires list, which just came out this week. It's bigger. They're richer than ever. Give us the context of what this kind of disparity looks like and how likely these tariffs do what Trump says they will, which is help everyone.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, the tariffs really aren't going to help almost anyone. You already had announcements of layoffs at auto plants today. That was not something that I think many auto workers would have expected to be a response to the tariffs. And so I think it's really important to keep in mind that when it comes to tariffs, when it comes to a trade war, there's really no place to run, no place to hide. Prices are going up for everyone. There's going to be increasing job loss. And the uncertainty that's getting introduced into the economy is going to act as a drag moving forward. And that's bad for low-income people. And frankly, it's also bad for the billionaires.
Martha Gimbel, thank you so much for coming on the show.